Okay, so here we are.
Here we are.
Hi.
Here we are. Okay, Movement Crew Lifestyle podcast number 4. We've got 2 guests on the show today, and a special appearance by Sarah. Okay, we've got Pat Barber and his wife, Tamarin.
I
like Tamazin.
That's
Tamazin.
That's the newest
Well, it's
one.
because it's
Is that the
Taz.
newest one?
Taz, and then my actual name is Tamarin. So,
So can we keep it at Taz?
Taz is
You can
fine.
keep it with Taz.
We keep it at
Yes.
Taz. Okay. Taz and Pat. Getting ready for a cool little chat. So let's just start off with just figuring out where you guys are from, what you guys do, a little bit of background, how you got involved in CrossFit. Okay, we can start with one story. We'll start with Pat's story, and then we'll move over. I'm sure Pat's going to involve you in his story as it goes, and then you can take over.
Sure.
So let's hear your background. Let's see where you're at.
Background, I'll give you the shortish version of it because it's a long story. But I started CrossFit back in 2004 at my old high school. One of the teachers brought it to the school. And it was a program that I used to get more fit for volleyball. And it ended up being really fun, more of a competition than anything else. So I kind of fell in love with the competition side of CrossFit. And that was 2004. And then 2005, I went down to college. Late 2005, I came back from college because I really didn't like what I was doing down there, and started going more to CrossFit in the local area, which was CrossFit Santa Cruz, which is the original one with Greg Glassman and Nicole Carroll and Tony Budding and all the other original people. And it was actually pretty funny. I got to drop into classes, and it only cost me $5 a class. So I'd earn tips from working out at restaurants, and then I'd come in. Or working at restaurants, and then I'd come in and I'd have my $5 and I'd pay for my classes whenever I could. So that was my membership back then. And just kind of did CrossFit from there for a number of years. Ended up quitting a job at one point in time and getting hired by CrossFit to be the media guy. So I would go around and film seminars and go home and edit the video. And through a lot of filming and editing of video, I kind of got immersed into the culture of CrossFit and the methodology behind it, and a deeper understanding of exactly what it was and why it was such an amazing program as well as an amazing community. And I got indoctrinated into what good coaches were. So I got to hang out with all the original greats and all the original kind of leaders of each one of the areas, like Mark Ripito and Mike Bergner and Greg and Dave Castro and Nicole and Rob Wolff, and they were all just kind of around because that was the foundation of when everything started, and kind of grew from there. And through editing all the video, flying to these seminars, eventually I started coaching. And coach, that was 2007, I think I started coaching at CrossFit Santa Cruz, and then also got on staff in 2007 to teach level 1s for the CrossFit seminars, and have been teaching level 1s and level 2s since. Competed in 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I was kind of missed 12, my appendix burst going into regionals. 13, I missed qualifying by 1 point. And then 14, 15 competed as on a team. And then 16, 17, I have been relaxing and enjoying family life. So now Taz and I run a company called Warm Up and Workout, where we do session plans for affiliates. We basically have a really amazing program, but that's not really our product. Our product is the lesson plans that are associated with that help coaches run better classes. And we are currently traveling the world on a 5-month trip, visiting CrossFit gyms that use the programming that we do, and also speaking to other CrossFit gyms about being better coaches, because we have some unique involvement in that area. And yeah, raising 2 kids and loving life. It's pretty darn good.
Nice. So from veteran to family life.
Yeah. And I like it, man. It's one of the best transitions that ever happened for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Tess, you want to give us a little bit of your story?
Yeah, so I started doing CrossFit in 2007. How it came about was I'd kind of just finished my sport and exercise science degree, and I worked at the university gym, and this is in New Zealand. So I was born and raised in South Africa till I was 12, and then we moved to New Zealand when I was 12. And so I went through childhood, my second half of my childhood there, and went to university there. And then about 2000, I think I ended, so around 2007, we started a youth program at the gym, at the university gym that I worked at. And so we were doing strength and conditioning with specifically like young swimmers. And we started doing some Olympic lifting with them and just, more functional movements rather than just doing the typical like trying to mimic swimming on land, which is kind of what was happening back then. And we just knew that wasn't really appropriate. We wanted to get them stronger. We wanted to get them more coordinated so they would translate into the water. And we happened to find CrossFit just online. Like it was the old CrossFit.com website.
That's normally the easiest way to find it.
Yeah.
It just comes upon you when you're ready. You're just like, wow, I'm ready.
Right.
There it is.
Right, totally. And so we did a couple of workouts ourselves, and we kind of thought it was ridiculous because there was no periodization and there was no this and that, and there was no like strength like protocol, and it was just, as sport and exercise scientists, we kind of thought it was a bit wishy-washy, and so we sort of left it, but we kept doing functional movements with our athletes and ourselves, but then we kept coming back to it because the workouts were fun and they were hard and we felt like, really challenged. So we kept coming back to it and we realized it was just really, it just really worked. So my business partner and I, we opened up a gym a year later. The first one in New Zealand was called CrossFit New Zealand. We bagged the name. And
as quick as possible. Let me get this down quick as possible. I got the name.
Yeah, so that was in early 2008. We started CrossFit New Zealand, and I went and competed at the first regionals in Australia 2009, and then competed at the games in 2009, and then a team 2010. Pat actually moved to New Zealand after that. That's where we met at the 2009 games. And then we moved back to Santa Cruz in 2011, 2012, and had a kid and got married. And so, my story kind of just went from there. CrossFit New Zealand 2008, and no looking back on CrossFit. And then I ended up selling my share of the business when I moved to Santa Cruz. And here we are. Pat kind of filled you in on the rest, but yes.
No, so was it Pat's good looks that got you in 2009?
Dude, no.
It was his dog.
It was my dog, man. Like 2009, I don't know what she saw in me. It was hilarious. Like I look back at 2009 me, and I'm like, what are you thinking? Like I questioned her decision making. Yeah. Oh, what was that?
What was there in 2009?
For me, I was like shaved head, just punk fool. Like nothing about me, as I look at myself then, was attractive. But somehow this like brilliant, like beautiful, older woman, older than me. She's 5 years older than me?
4.
4 years older than me. Mm-hmm. Like wanted to hang out with me. And I was like, okay, all right.
We had really similar childhood. Like despite me growing up in South Africa and New Zealand, him growing up in California, we were both like very athletic, very outgoing, outdoorsy, like just there were a lot of similarities, and I think that's what kind of drew us to each other.
Yeah, we played so when we first met, we played a bunch of games together, because we were supposed to be training together.
We're supposed to be training with the games.
We would
do like one workout. That was back in the day where you could just like do one workout and be fine,
She needed a chauffeur while she was in Santa Cruz, so she came over to the games. And she didn't have a car, she just had a bike. And it was like a 30-minute bike ride to this gym, but it was like a 5-minute car ride. And the gym that was the gym that I was working at. And I had met her because she had asked me if she could train at the gym, because we had met online through a CrossFit article that had been posted about her, and I was the one posting the article, so we had this like brief acquaintance there. And then she ends up needing someone to kind of like drive her around. We go do one workout a day, and then there's the rest of the day. And I was a coach, so I could like coach 1 or 2 hours here and there. And
you were just coaching.
I was just coaching at the time and doing a little bit of video work for HQ. But it was, in seminars. So I work on the weekends. So I had all this free time. We just kind of hung out. It was mainly games. We'd like go, where I was staying had a big sport court. It was like a fenced-in area that was like the sport court flooring, and it had tennis, and it had badminton, and it had pickleball, and like all this other stuff. And we would just play games forever and chat and hang out, and go to the beach and go body surfing. And I was actually in a relationship at the time, a 3.5-year-long relationship. So my idea of a romantic relationship with her was totally off the table. It wasn't like I was thinking, oh, I'm going to make this girl mine. I was just like, this is fun. Yeah, this is cool.
Games.
Like, we're just playing games. Like,
best friends playing games.
this is fun getting beat in the things that I beat 99.9% of the people in by a girl. And that was a really interesting experience for me. I was like, we did an L-sit pull-up overhead squat workout, and I got beat. And I'm like, excuse me? You know, like, I don't get beat in an L-sit pull-up workout by
I don't think you would
anyone.
now after 2 kids. You got
Let
that one
alone,
in the bag, I think.
Yo, I don't think I could do an L-sit pull-up right now. We'll talk about that.
Let's not go down that road.
And
I feel like there's a competition coming up.
yeah, of who's the least fit. But yeah, so it was just a really cool experience meeting someone and not having any sort of romantic inclination towards them, and getting to know who they were and what they were and how connected we really were on a very deep level.
It's getting to know somebody as a friend first.
Yeah, and I mean, I had done that with previous girlfriends and stuff, but it was always, sexuality was a huge component of that, and that was like the foundation of most relationships that I'd been in. But since that was 100% off the table, it was like, it was I don't know, I think she's different than most girls that exist. She's very logical instead of emotional first. I'm actually more of the like emotional first and then goes to logic sort of person. So it ended up complementing each other really well. And yeah, fell in love and got married and had kids and happy as a clam. I don't know, a clam's happy, or is it just like they're perpetually smiling? Is that why people say
With
happy
their
as a
little
clam?
mouths.
Yeah.
That's actually a good question.
Yeah,
I
it's probably
haven't
just
thought about
because
that before.
you look at the clam and it like always looks like it's
If
smiling.
it's like a little bit open.
Yeah.
Then it's smiling. Could be. So, Taz, you said you're originally from here,
Yeah.
and then you moved to New Zealand. Is that kind of what brought your guys' tour on to come back here, or what's driven you back to touring South Africa?
Yes and no. We actually have quite a few gyms in South Africa that use our programming. So that as well as we wanted to do a bigger stint here in South Africa. We came with Oaks, our oldest boy, and Pat, like about 3 years ago, and we were only here for 3 weeks, so just a short trip. And I just didn't feel like we got to do everything that there is to do here. And we actually looked into coming to potentially stay here for like a year, but getting visas for South Africa is really hard. It doesn't. You wouldn't think it is, but it's surprisingly difficult.
I definitely wouldn't think it is.
Yeah, it's surprisingly difficult. You have to have a lot of. We would probably have to get a gym to sponsor us to be like, yes, they're coaching for us, just to get a foot in the
it's a whole
door.
sponsorship level when it comes.
Why don't you guys just phone me?
Yeah.
We have
Sponsor
contacts
you.
now. Yeah,
Well, we wouldn't come to Joburg.
probably not. Yes,
We would go to like
unfortunately.
Cape Town or
Okay, I'll sponsor
Plettenberg
you.
Bay.
You can go
or
wherever you
like,
want.
there's
Nobody's really going to check up on you.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
yeah, fair enough.
I think once you're in the country, it's totally fine. Like we
Yeah,
could,
you just got to get in.
We'll probably
Yeah.
stay here longer than our.
Not to say that Joburg's a bad place. I'm just saying we've been
We
all
have
over
to be
South
by a
Africa,
beach, like,
and
that's kind
I
of
gotta
a-
be by a beach.
I suppose
And-
if you're working, it's good to be here. But if you're just to do what you're doing,
Yeah.
then I would just rather be at the beach.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, and it just kind of made sense with our round the world. So, starting in Santa Cruz, California, then going via the East Coast, via Ireland, Scotland, UK, and then we did Dubai, then South Africa, and then Bali, then Australia. So it's literally kind of just following that round the world path. But yeah, for sure, I'm very, even though I was 12 when we moved, I'm still very drawn to South Africa. Like I have very strong roots here, and a lot of family too still. So that's really nice to spend time with them.
And I love it. I mean, it's a great place. Like the dollar goes a long way. The quality of life is
long
really
way.
high. Yeah, the quality of life is really high. Like if you have money here, you can. In addition to it being something that you can do, like where you spend money and do fun stuff, the environment's amazing, the food's amazing.
You don't
it's
have
like,
to spend money to
yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's so many things outdoors that you can
Yeah.
be doing. Yeah.
So have you guys done anything cool things while you've been here?
Well, Pat is pretty much fluent in Afrikaans now.
Yeah.
Are you?
So-
Really?
Leka leka, man. Full on. I learned it just now. Maybe now.
Just now.
Today?
Or
Now.
Or
Now.
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 I mean,
Or now.
just now I'm learning.
And then I was reminded of the Fufi slide. You remember, like, when you're growing up, you called a zip line a foofy slide,
Yeah.
and we were talking about it with our friends, and like, I was like, how do you spell that? And both of them were like, I have no idea. Like, no one's ever seen it written down before.
It's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Even like robots and traffic lights.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, robots. Robots.
Hey, check, there's a robot. What? What robot?
Beep, boop, beep.
But other than that, like, I don't know, what would you say?
That I've learned in South Africa?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think watching our kids be here is really cool.
Yeah.
So watching them just thrive on the environment that they're in. So like we'll be by the beach and they'll be running around the beach with no shoes on, and then we'll go into the mountains and they'll be running around the mountains and picking up bugs, and it's just a cool thing to watch them grow in a place where they're kind of like allowed to do whatever they want. There's so many rules and regulations in the States with regards to safety and everything else that they don't get to do a lot of stuff. So we have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and there's no way our 2-year-old would get to go zip lining. Zip lining
on
a canopy tour. So
I mean, it's like thousands of meters down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as you guys are comfortable doing it.
Yeah, well, they were. I mean, the company they said they have had an 18-month-old doing it.
It's great. You just strap them in, push them across, and it's like, but it's beautiful.
So you can send your 18-month down the zip line, but you can't get the visa to get inside.
Yeah. But so even little things like the playgrounds at a restaurant, that is non-existent in the U.S. because of it's a litigious culture. So if someone has a playground and their kid falls on your playground and hurts themselves, they sue you and your restaurant goes out of business. So it's just not worth it to put it in. And it's like the U.S. is centered around not taking responsibility for things that happen to you. It's like rather than being like, well, if I let my kid play on it and he hurts himself, that's my fault as a parent.
Yeah, straight up.
And this culture is not about that. It's like we're going to put this rickety wooden thing. And it's great
Nails
because
coming out of it.
with nails coming out of it right out front of this restaurant. It's got like a clown on it. And you're like, all right, maybe I'll let my kid play on that. And if you let it and it hurts, you take responsibility.
And like at all the water parks, like in America, like our 2-year-old would never be allowed to go on basically any of the rides.
Yeah.
I mean, you just sit them on your lap and go. Here, it's like, you just hold on. I mean, some of them are a little bit more strict, but it, like Pat said, I think the freedom for them to do, and it allows us as a family to do a lot more together. Because Arrow, the 2-year-old, was allowed to go on a horse. We went on like a riding trek in the Drakensberg. He did fall asleep on the horse, so the guy had to like carry him. Yeah. But like the fact that we could do that was just like really cool.
It's a really family-friendly country.
Yeah.
Like I think people underestimate how family-friendly South Africa is, and like from everything to how they prepare meals for kids, and that's always available, to the play places, to the cost for kids, to the ability to do whatever you want. It's really cool. The other thing I learned here is that South Africa it's a bit safer than I thought it was. I think it gets a worse rap globally. And then the first time I came here, I didn't feel safe because I had no bearing of what was going on and all the stories I'd heard. And I just feel like there is a lot of fear mongering even from South Africans. Like I'm here in the middle of Joburg and we're behind 3 fences, all electrified, and then you lock the gate between the lower and upper stairs in the middle of the night. It's like that's just that underlying fear constantly must have been bred into you guys from a really, really young age. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be a certain reality.
I still feel it,
right.
And I know it's irrational. Like I'll be in an area where it's like highly like populated, and I know I'm safe, but irrationally, like I start getting a little anxiety because as a kid, like Pat said, it was just like bred into me to feel scared. And so that's been like challenging for me to just sort of overcome coming back as an adult to like get my head around how like it's safe. Like
And it is. I mean, you don't be an idiot, like you don't walk around with a giant wad of cash waving it around. You don't go to a place that's like seedy seeming. Like when I went down to Durban and we were in downtown Durban, I didn't feel great. I didn't want to stay. I didn't want to get out of my car. I didn't want to stop my car. So I left.
Yeah.
But then we go to Umhlanga and we're like, cool.
You can chill here.
I can chill here. I
It's
feel
just being aware of your surroundings.
absolutely,
Really.
absolutely. And if you can do that, I think it's a fantastic place to be.
But I definitely think it is an inbred thing because I know for me as a fact, I don't need to lock my gate all the time and everything. But then if I look at my mom, she freaks out. Yeah. She's like, has to be locked all the time, always needs the gate locked. And it's just pretty much, I feel like if I'm in town, then I'll drive with my window up. But if I'm out of town, I'll drive with my window down. Just making those constant decisions of where you are.
Yeah, you're definitely a little bit more on guard. I think that's the difference. Like in where we live, like we're not worrying about whether our window is up or down ever, you know, or if the door's locked or not locked, or whether like we're leaving the house with our whole house unlocked and we don't have gates. It's literally a white picket fence, you know, and the doors are unopen. They're not like wide open, but they're not locked. Whereas here, it's just sort of just on the back of your mind. Like I think it's like a constant.
I think it's fair enough to say that you should have it in the back of your mind
Exactly.
anyways. But even having lived in a first world country for such a long time and coming back here now at this age, I think it does make a difference. Like you say, you rationalize it far better as an older person. Whereas when you're younger, I think you've got your parents also saying to you, listen, be very careful and things like that.
But I don't remember my parents telling me why. So I think that's the difference between this generation, like our generation, versus our parents' generation. Is, you know, if we were to live here, like we've already explained to Oaks, you know, like, you know, why there are fences or what, you know, and it's in a way that it's not discriminatory or racial or anything like that. It's just like this can happen and this is why it happens.
Or putting fear into him either. You want to avoid that.
Exactly. Like, but I don't think we were never told why, and it was just sort of like, this is how it is. This is the culture, and that's it. So then you're like, oh, okay. Well, then it's just like brainwashed into thinking that everyone is evil.
And there is a certain reality to it, of course. Like,
of course.
Especially with the disparity of having like first world and third world right next to each other. And then, but that's the same. There's a lot of that in other countries. I mean, we're in the Santa Cruz where we live. Like we're talking about how safe it is. My car's been broken into 3 times in our driveway, and all my stuff stolen. In my driveway, like. When I say broken into, it's because I left my car unlocked and they opened the doors and took all my stuff. But still,
So
it's
it wasn't
like
even a cracked window and nothing.
no.
Opened the door and
But that's the hilarious thing. It's like you've got this crap everywhere worldwide. I think the thing that's a little scary here is it seems a little bit more violent.
There's a
So
lot
like
more violent.
when it happens, it's like I'm gonna steal your stuff and stab you, and it's like. Why would you need to stab me? Why don't you just take my stuff? And I don't know if that's part of the culture or whatever it is, but that's what I feel like the slight difference is, where that keeps me more vigilant, you know, because I don't want to get stabbed.
Fair enough. I mean, valid.
That is a valid point.
Yeah.
Just touching back base on the traveling that you guys do. Obviously, I'm assuming you traveled before you had kids. With regards to having 2 of them now, from 1 to 2, what's that process like for you as a mom and a dad, as well as running your businesses with the 2 kids?
Traveling or just like life?
For me, traveling, because I've got a lot of friends who have got kids, and just with one, the difficulties that they've encountered, and you're doing a world tour, you know. So how's that impacted?
I think really not that much, to be honest. Going from 1 to 2 wasn't like a big deal. I think the only time it like remotely gets difficult is on long haul airplanes, because the older one, and this is just kid dependent, you know, some kids will happily sit and just be for 15 hours. Like our older one, you just put TV on TV and he'll keep watching it. He's crazy when we get off the plane, but he sits still for 15 hours. The little one, he's only 2.
He doesn't get TV.
Yeah,
So when you
they
sit
don't
on a
get
plane,
TV.
you give him TV. He's like,
What is
okay.
this?
Yeah,
He's
he's like
I will
settles
sit
in.
and stimulate my brain for the next 14 hours.
And we're okay with that because he's not allowed to watch TV really any other time. So, but the little one, maybe he'll stay focused for like 10 minutes and then you've got 13 hours and 50 minutes left, you know. So it's like, and so you're sort of keeping him occupied that whole time, and we're just going back and forth, and there's nowhere to go on a plane. Like you can walk up and down, and then he wants to go to the toilet. He just pee 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 poo poo. Like, dude, you don't need to go. He just wants to go and push all the buttons. But I mean, in saying like that, the way we look at it is like the flight always ends. Like it's going to end at some point, and you're just like uncomfortable for that period of time. And then you get to South Africa, and you're in a beautiful country, or you know, wherever you're going. So I think
it just pretty much sounds like you guys are always looking for a workout, really.
Yeah.
Even on a plane.
Exactly, yeah. That's why we don't work out very often, because we have 2 kids. I think it's just your attitude. Like if you go in feeling like, oh, this is going to be so hard, and we're just going to get so tired and not get any sleep, then it's going to be like that. But if you go in being like, cool, like, yeah, let's do this. Like whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I think that's just what you choose is kind of your outcome.
I think that's a great attitude for life, really.
Totally.
Is having the positive attitude to be like, well, I'm only going to sit on a plane for an hour or 5 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I get to the other side, it's happy days.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with kids, too, is I see the people who are more miserable traveling, or even who have a harder time parenting. A lot of the times they're trying to, for lack of a better word, they're trying to be selfish. They're trying to be the same person they were before they had kids, or they're trying to have the same travel experience before they had kids. And when you become a parent, you have to take the responsibility of saying, hey, it's not about me anymore. It's not about me being comfortable. It's not about me doing all these other things. It's about my kids having an amazing experience. It's about them enjoying this. It's about my commitment is to them to make sure they're okay. And when you start to be okay and happy with making them okay, it's a much better, like even when shit's uncomfortable, you're like, well, this is my role, this is my job. Like you don't bitch when you go to work and like you do something you don't want to do. It's like that's your job. You get paid to do it. In this case, you don't get paid to do it. You get to raise another human being. Like you made this choice, you got yourself here. Enjoy the process. And it's taking responsibility for that and letting go of self, I think, for a lot of people. And being like, it's not going to be the same, but that's okay. I can still enjoy this other process.
Yeah, I picked up on something when I was on your Instagram, your Tribe Life, your podcast, where you said that it's not really about parenting. You want to create a relationship with your kids. And I suppose the difference there is having that relationship where it's not, I am this person and you are that. It's trying to create this cohesive
Absolutely. And this
balance.
trip has brought us together as a family a lot more than, we ever have at home. Because we're constantly in each other's space, but because it kind of flipped the switch a little bit in our head about the relationship thing. It's like we wouldn't treat like each other or friends or our parents like sometimes the way we treat our kids. It's just constantly saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. Like, what about this? Why did you do this? And rather than it's like, well, let's put the trust in their hands and trust that they're making the best decisions that they can, given what we've taught them. Yeah. And they're only 2 and 5, so most of the time those are terrible decisions that they're making. But it's not their fault. They're 5 and 2, and I think often they'll do something ridiculous and stupid, and our immediate reaction is to go blame them for doing that. And we're like, well, hang on. The chances are that there's some reason they've done that, and it's probably to do with something they've seen us do, or so I think changing your mindset around that definitely helps.
Boundaries are definitely important though. So it's not like, oh, kids don't have boundaries and just let them be what they are. It's like bullshit. You control the child and set those boundaries, but how you do it, whether it's authoritative in the sense that you have to do this because I said so, or you built like you said, the relationship with the kid where you're looking, like Taz said, past the symptom into the cause. So if a kid lashes out and punches a window, you don't get, hey, you punched that window. It's like, okay, let's take 1 second. Why did he punch that window? What was he so frustrated about that caused him to punch that window? Let's address that issue. Once we've addressed that issue, then we can be like, hey man, when that happens, you can't punch a window. It's just not acceptable. But what most parents do is most people do is they go straight to the thing that they see. And this is in medicine, this is in a lot of relationship stuff, and then they treat that, and they're like, you can't punch a window, it's not right to punch a window, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe try to address the thing afterwards, but it's like, take that breath, take that second, be like, okay, what's going on behind that? How did that lead to that place?
I think we're also, we're very fortunate and lucky that we do have what we currently have, because it's put us in a situation where, we're not worrying about financial worries for a start, and I think that's very stressful in a relationship, and usually the kids are the ones that get the brunt of the stress in relationships. And then we're not stuck in a routine right now where we're having to be at a job and pick the kids up and okay, you've got to do this and I've got to do this. We're very lucky that we can be in this cohesive relationship and sit and reflect about situations, because we're the ones having to deal with the kid if we do lash out like that, and then for the next hour they're screaming or running to their room or being sad, whereas at home it's sort of you'll just send them off to school. Something will happen and you don't have the time to address it, and then they leave and then it happens all again, or then you're going to the next activity. So I just think we've been really fortunate to be able to have the time to be okay, this happened, let's deal, even if it's something ridiculous one brother hit the other brother. Sometimes it'll take 20 minutes to work through that situation. Whereas at home, you don't have the time. Most people don't have the time to do that. So I think that's...
We are definitely lucky.
But what's nice is if you work through those 20 minutes, then it's done.
Yeah.
Then you most probably wouldn't have to do it again.
Well, you
Whereas
don't.
If it keeps getting put off, then
Totally.
you have to keep reprimanding the kid
Yeah.
all the time what to do.
We had this thing we were just talking about the other day where it's like a lot of people go to the easy solution that leads to bigger problems. So it's like the kid's complaining or the kid's fussy, I'm going to give them TV. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to give them TV to distract them. So we never dealt with the issue. Now you're stimulating their brain. And then when you turn the TV off, now they've associated them whining and being a dick with getting TV.
Getting to watch something.
And then now they've got the TV, their brain's stimulated in a way that the TV does in a very unique way. And then afterwards, they're going to freak out. And they're going to freak out for much longer and then continue to make this psychological link between those two things and hope that they get it again. And it's like...
And we get it because we've definitely been there before.
Yeah.
You know,
We do.
like we're not saying like, oh, we're like these converted parents, but...
Not at all, but
Yeah.
but like I think you pick your battles.
Yeah, you're
If
aware
you
of
have
the
the opportunity to like not give them a TV in a second and be like, wait, let me see if I can like let them get through this and not have that be the case. A lot of times they get through with it relatively quick. Same thing with food.
Like today, for example, you know, we went to the gym and as soon as we got there, I was like regretting bringing the kids. You know, they normally always come to the gym, but since we've been here at Maya's house, you know, she's been very helpful. And she's like, just leave the kids with me. But I felt like, no, we'll just take them. It's fine. Like, we'll take our kids and you can just have 2 for once, not 4. And as soon as we got there, they were just being like little turds. And I was like, I regret this decision immediately. And all I wanted to do was just put them in the corner and let them play a game on their iPad. Because, I mean, they don't get that very often. But in my head, I'm like, it would just solve so much right now. I wouldn't have to be running after them, like talking about how they're hungry. And I was like, no, it's fine. They'll figure it out. Like, they'll figure it out. And they did. They figured it out and they just ended up playing. You know?
Yeah.
But I think it's at those moments where you choose just that weakness, you know, it's just like, yep, this is the easy situation, I'm just going to do this.
But you choose the immediate discomfort for a long-term benefit, which is a hard choice because there's immediate benefit if you just want to take the other one. But from what we've seen with our kids, it's not.
Yeah.
It's in most of those situations like you need to understand you're going to deal with this down the road and you're going to deal with it in a different way. Like my kid really wants ice cream. I can choose to give them ice cream, but I need to know that what's going to happen after that. He's going to have this massive insulin spike, and then he's going to crash, and he's going to scream at me. And whose fault is that? Mine. So if you want to give him ice cream, go give him ice cream, but then take responsibility for when the kid freaks out down the road, and that's your fault. And so do you want to have the battle now, where you say, no, I'm not going to give you ice cream right now, and then they complain for 5 minutes, or do you want to have the battle down the road where you're fighting with them for the next half hour because they're hyped on sugar. Yeah. It's like, what decision do you want to make? It's totally up to you as a parent, as a person, but just knowing that you're the one perpetuating that, I think is the first step to either just living a more aware life as a parent.
It's just smart parenting, really.
Yeah.
Thinking about your decisions before you actually just make them.
Yeah.
Take a step back, realize what's going on in life, and then be like, this is what I'm going to decide to do.
Yeah, this whole trip has been a social experiment, really. With our kids, you know, and we're halfway through and we're only just kind of figuring out the better method. Like, just the way we've been doing stuff more recently we've been able to diffuse situations a lot quicker than we have in the past. And and we definitely haven't cracked any code. Like, we're still like...
I was going to say, will you just sort of leave a list for...
No, you got to figure it out yourself.
It's like most things, like, not most things, but it's like job satisfaction or relationship satisfaction. It's not an instantaneous thing by any means. Like, it has to be time. And that's the problem I see a lot of parents have, is they don't have time. We are very fortunate to have time.
With the kids, time with the kids.
Yeah, time with the kids. It's exposure, time, trying stuff, making it break, fixing it, like whatever it may be. That time is so essential, which is why it breaks my heart when I see people who don't spend time with their kids. They don't have the opportunity to because they're working, or maybe they choose not to. But time is necessary for building that relationship and having better kids.
The more reps you do, the better you get.
Unless you do them horribly.
Unless you're doing bad reps.
Yeah.
But don't do bad reps.
Yes.
So, where else are you guys planning on going? Like, where's your next ventures?
From here, we're off to Bali for 7 days. Taz put that in the trip because she's like, I want you to surf. And I was like, man, I love you.
Was it no
Let's have
surfing
more
in Cape Town?
babies. We got some great surfing. We stayed right in Kamaki, and it was pump and surf for like a full week. So
And
I
then
got
in
some surf there. And in Plet, I got some good surf.
Not
what is
in
it?
Durban.
Llandudno?
Llandudno.
Llandudno. In Cape
Llandudno.
Town.
I got some good surf there. So Bali for 7 days, shred the gnar, and then Australia for like 8 weeks.
Like six-ish weeks, yeah.
Six-ish
So we're back
weeks.
at home in May.
Yeah. So Australia will be fun, but we're going to go to Perth and Margaret River, and then Sydney, and then
Like
just
up the coast to
up the coast.
Brisbane and...
Again, is that also based on your website and the work you're doing and visiting?
Yeah,
gyms over
we're
there?
having to kind of backtrack a little bit inland sometimes, but we're in Australia, that is. Like, we don't have a gym in Bali, but Pat's actually going to do a little like clinic there,
Yeah.
because there is a few CrossFit gyms
To
there.
be fair, you don't really need a reason to go to Bali.
No,
do you?
Yeah.
That was definitely. It was. We was hoping just to be like a chill 7 days of nothing, but it turns out like Pat will do some work, but that's fine. Like, it's not like we've been inundated with having to do stuff on this trip, so it's
So if
fine.
Pat gets to surf, what do you get to do?
I'm with the kids. Oh, like what we talk about this often because Pat has surfing as a hobby, and currently my hobby, like we kind of joke about how you can only have 3 things, right? So right now my focus is work, kids, and fitness. So there's no real opportunity for a hobby, but my hobby is like planning all this travel, really.
Yeah. Admin.
Planning the surf trips.
Planning the surf trips for
Yeah,
my
man.
husband. There you go.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a keeper.
Well, no. I think that is like one of the most interesting points of contention in our relationship, because I want her to have something. I want her to go out and do stuff, like leave me with the kids and go paddling for a couple hours.
So I
But-
grew up doing surf life saving, and so I'm like very drawn to the ocean, just like Pat.
Yeah.
And I do miss being like in the water on like a surf ski or just whatever it may be.
But her mentality and her general way of being is more giving. So she's more selfless, and so she thinks of others first, and she does things for others first. And if it's not truly important to her, she won't do it. Whereas I'm the reverse. I'm completely selfish in almost every single way. So and so I choose to do things first for me always. I'm always going to be taken care of. So I have no issue if she wants to take care of herself. She just doesn't work that way. But then what'll happen is she'll maybe take care of me, and then I'll take care of myself. And then when I go to take care of myself again, she'll resent the fact that I'm taking care of myself because she hasn't taken care of herself. And I should have just seen that and been like, okay, well, I'm gonna now take care of you. But it's hard for both of us. Like, it's hard for her to take care of herself, and it's hard for me to try to go out of my way to take care of her. And it's finding these times and making her do stuff for herself, even if it's trivial, and me being more responsible and taking care of the family first before
I think
doing
the
this
first
stuff.
step is that you're actually aware of that,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least.
Totally.
Like,
No, it's
And honest about it.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean,
Being unaware of it, I think, might
yeah,
yeah.
communication's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you guys have a lot of.
Yeah,
That's
we-
a good thing.
We got lucky.
Yeah.
We started our relationship that way, where it was pretty much solid communication, even if it was like harsh stuff, and we respond really well to each other. So I think that's very occasionally, like all of a sudden, like 3 days will build up of something, and then it'll just be like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it'll come out.
Especially being in each other's pockets, every day. We're used to working with each other a lot, but like at home, like Pat he'll go off for the whole day and work at a cafe and then go surfing, and I'll be doing my things, and then we'll see each other. But we still see each other a lot, but it's not like 24/7. Like,
Which it is now,
yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Pat raced off last night to get home.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did. We tried to keep him there, but he was not having it. He was like, guys, I'm out of here. Cheers. So, how did you guys come across building your website? What were your thought patterns on getting to the situation where you could build a website and then travel the world?
Yeah, that was definitely not the intention, like build a website, travel the world. It was more like
It was mine.
it was hers. Well, we started, I've been a coach for a long time, and I'm good at performing. So when you put me in front of people, I can get the job done, and I can make it an awesome experience for those people. But my strengths are not in the pre-planning portion of anything. And so when the original workouts would come out, it would just be a workout, and then you have to figure out how to make the rest of the session. And, you get by, and your clients love it, and they have a good time. But as myself, I found myself doing the same stuff all the time. I found myself, getting better as a coach through the dealings that I would have, but it wasn't particularly rapid as far as my growth and competence as a coach. And then when I moved to New Zealand to be with Taz at her gym, CrossFit New Zealand, wrote lesson plans. So it would be like, here's the workout, here's a general framework for how the warm-up should go, the general things you should look at, some skill work, and then a little cool down and the basic time breakdowns. And when I started to use those, at first it was a little overwhelming because I was like, okay, there's all this stuff here. But my coaching ability shot through the roof because what it did is it forced me to teach stuff that I didn't know how to teach. So all of a sudden now I've expanded my experiences and I'm having to work through new things. I get now pumped about coaching because I read the thing beforehand. I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do tomorrow. And now I can focus on how to get it done rather than what to do. So I can make that delivery even better. So rather than thinking every single day, okay, what is it, this is it, how can I make this the most efficient, best class possible? So my classes started to get better, I started to get better, and it was just like a no-brainer to continue to use this for the duration of my coaching. And then when we moved back to Santa Cruz, we worked for NorCal CrossFit, and we had 4 gyms that eventually grew into 22 gyms. And we needed to keep a sense of consistency across all these gyms. So we would write lesson plans, and it made it so people, no matter what class time they came, no matter whose class it was, no matter what it was, got a similar product. And then all the coaches started to develop, and there's a culture centered around being better and being able to coach everything and expanding your experiences. So it became this amazing tool. And then one day I was sitting there, I think we were talking about it, and we were like, other people need this. Like worldwide, other people need access to this. And we're uniquely suited to be able to deliver it in a very spectacular way. Like, she is a fantastic programmer, the way her brain works, and an amazing lesson plan writer. And I can make videos, and I can build content, and I can do client back and forths and consult with gyms. I understand the CrossFit space well, and you have this amazing ability to create this product that makes people better. Why don't we start something? Now, to build a website of that caliber is expensive, like really expensive, and we didn't have like money. So it was like a perfect set of events where my buddy, who was my best man at my wedding, he's a great dude, known him my whole life, for a lot of it at least, and he and his fiance run a web company. So he builds sites and she designs sites, and so she does copy and she does design, and he makes things work. And his skills had just got to the point where he could almost build whatever he wanted. And my video skills had just come to a certain point. We were at this point in our lives where we wanted to kind of look for something else to do to help support ourselves financially. And I reached out to him, and I was like, he had a downtime in business. And I said, hey, here's my idea. I think it could be really successful as well as really helpful to this community. Is there any chance you'd be able to build it? What would it take? And he's like, it'd take some time, but I could do it, and and we went back and forth, and I was like, I can't pay you, but can I give you a percentage of the company, like a percentage of the profits? And he's like, yeah, I mean, that could work. And so basically we split the company to where we make 60, he makes 40% of whatever is happening. Got the website built for free, essentially, and it's this beautiful site that would have cost me like 60 grand to build, and he's invested in keeping it running, and she's now runs our social media and helps us set up the posts and writes our copy and designs everything, and we're just 2 couples working together making it. So that was like the whole thing, and we launched it, and then within the first month we were cash positive in the sense that we had invested $800 into a LLC, but other than that it was just like plugins and stuff, which were relatively cheap, and it worked. And we've now been able to refine the product over the course of 2 years, expand our offerings, and just are really happy with what we offer. Like, a bunch of other people jumped on the bandwagon and are putting out programming and all this stuff, and we blow them out of the water. We're just so much better in the delivery of it, so much better in terms of the program that we offer and what we're trying to do with it. We're really clear with the direction that everything's going. We have just kind of anything you want from the program we've refined over the last 2 years, and it's fantastic. So
I think it also comes down to the passion, because anyone can do it. It's just how passionate are you about doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how much do you want to get it out there and give people something better to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Like, out there, some guys can just be like, oh, I'm just going to put this together because it's here and I can make money.
Yeah.
But if you're just in there to make money, then are you
Yeah.
really going to be making money?
Right,
You might
no.
make a few dollars, there, but you're never going to get out there and be like, boom, I'm just helping people do whatever people want to do.
All right.
And I think it's incredible.
Thanks,
Would you
man.
drop us that URL there quickly?
It is warmupandworkout.com. So that's what we sell.
But I'll put it in my bio.
Show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. So, who have you worked with over the time? Like, I heard you say you worked with Ben Bergner and you worked with Jason.
Oh, you just mean like
Kaliba.
coaches worldwide?
Yeah, like, what's been your takeaway from most of the guys that you've worked with, and who's been pretty much the highest?
Classify that for me. The highest what? The most successful or
The most knowledgeable. Someone,
Knowledgeable.
yeah, someone that you've taken the most away from. Out of all the guys.
Pause.
Yeah, no,
You're allowed to
I'm-
pause. You're allowed to pause. Thoughts are important.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to like classify what I would consider to be
Yeah.
because you take little things from everyone,
From
right?
everyone, yeah.
So Jason, for instance, what I take from Jason is Jason works really, really hard, relentlessly, at the expense of the rest of his life, at the expense of his family, at the expense of his business, at the expense of his friends, like at the expense of himself, his own energy level. He works really hard. And I was thinking about this in the shower last night. People, they want to know how NorCal is this giant empire, and it's like, well, they built one gym, and then he opened another gym. And then they built that gym, then he opened another gym. And they built that gym, then he opened another gym. And each one of these gyms was independently successful. But he just kept opening more and more and more and more because that's his personality. He wants more and he wants to get more. And then he put people in place to make those work. And it's not like any single one of them was insanely profitable. It's the collective that allows it to be this giant empire and then leverage that in certain ways. So where his benefit was persistence and never being satisfied and wanting more and working really, really hard. So I look at Jason and I'm like, wow, it's honorable how hard he works. I don't agree with some of the directions that he takes it, but that's beside the point. Someone like Ben's an interesting fellow because Ben is like,
Benny's very interesting.
he's
We just did a podcast.
we just did a podcast. Yeah, we did our Tribe Life podcast with him
I
and
saw
Heather.
it now on the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a thinker in a lot of ways, but like when I first met him, my initial thing with him was he's an overthinker. He overthinks everything that he's doing. But what's great about him is he overthinks it for like 6 months, which then brings it back around to a more simplistic thought and then puts it out there. So what Ben doesn't do, I feel, is think something and put it right out there all the time. He sits and dwells on it for a really long time. That means he's got a lot of reasons as to why he believes what he does and why the content that he puts out is put out. It's very calculated. It seems a little like, it's just off the cuff, but it's not. It's like it's been ruminating for a long time, and I think that's what I've taken from Ben is like, it pops in my head and I'm going to say it. And he's like, pops into his head and he's like, I'm going to think about this for 6 months. I'm going to overthink it for 6 months, work myself back around, and then I'm going to say it. But he's been doing that for the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's
So now he's at this place where it's so much information that it's just off the cuff. But it's not. It's a lot of thought that goes into it. So Ben's spectacular that way. I think Glassman is one of the coolest guys that I've worked with and met because he's just like, he's so smart, like coming up with the stuff that he does because he creates it. A lot of people are taking other stuff and adding it together and making it their own, but he just creates it. He pulls it out of his butt. Like you're thinking he was sitting there a couple years back, 2005 or something like that, where he's going, okay, we've got this definition for fitness, work capacity across broad time and mental domains, and we deliver this lecture every weekend. It's an empirical definition of fitness. And he's like, but the definition of health sits over here. Health is defined as the absence of disease. So he's like, okay, how can we link health and fitness? Because they obviously can't be separate things. That's ridiculous. Health and fitness should be one unit, but they're classically considered two very different things. And the absence of disease is a horrible definition for health because you can be in a coma and have no disease. but your quality of life is nothing. So he's like, how can we involve quality of life into a definition of health? And so Greg sits down and like over the course of a period of time, he takes his definition of fitness and he turns it into this basically your fitness, your ability to output power across any activity, across any time frame, throughout the course of your life. That's your true health. It doesn't matter if you have disease, high blood pressure, all this other stuff. Your health is your ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, throughout the entirety of your life. So it's like now we've got fitness directly correlated to health and an empirical definition of health. It's like, how the hell do you sit around and like pop this in your head? Like, it's fantastic. So like working with a guy like Greg, who's just so over the top smart in that area, was fantastic. I think from a coaching standpoint, Mike Bergner. I'm sorry, I'm running over this.
No, I was going to say Mike Bergner, so you just say it.
Mike Bergner is the first guy I watched who could command a room the way he did.
Yeah.
He
just makes everything so simple.
So simple.
And
such complex ideas. Just like, do this, and you do it. And then in addition to that, he was the first guy I watched, and this was like way back before good coaches were a thing. You know, like all CrossFit coaches sucked in 2004. Like they were, when I say sucked, they were minimally effective compared to what they are now. I see so many more competent coaches now than I did back then. And even people who were around back then who were considered good, they are 100 times better now than they were back then. And it's just the delivery has been so refined over the last 10 years, and what we're trying to get across is so much more succinct that it's a much better world that we're in now. But Mike Bergner was the first one I'd seen who, like, group of 15 people in front of him doing a snatch with a PVC pipe, and he'd be like, ready and go. Okay, you need to keep your feet a little bit narrower. You need to drive a little bit harder into the bar. You need to turn over a little bit faster. You need to do exactly what you're doing. That looked really good. You need to be more aggressive on the pull up. You need to be under faster.
All 15 then.
All 15 in one rep. And I sat there and was like, how the hell did you do that?
Old dude, like standing there, like, like making you do burpees, but you know, he's so unassuming. He's definitely, in my eyes, like, opened my eyes to coaching.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because Pat and I had the opportunity to go and help him on his seminars in Australia when we lived in New Zealand. So we'd fly over and kind of just assist him on his seminars. So we got to watch him like doing his seminars, and sometimes there'd be like 20 plus people in the class.
Yeah.
And everyone's just sitting there like too scared to move because of how he's commanding everyone, you know.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's great though.
I couldn't think of like one individual who I'd say would be like the most influential.
But it's cool to get bits from everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what helps people grow.
Absolutely.
The more people you mix with in that kind of space, then the better everyone's going to be growing.
Yeah.
So moving on to, what dreams do you guys have for your future? Family orientated, personally, just run through some of those.
Ooh. So Pat doesn't like making long-term goals or dreams. Like,
I don't mind dreaming.
He dreams, but
I love to dream. I dream all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind dreaming. I just don't like setting hard goals. And it's a fault of mine. I should probably figure out how to set goals and then like try to achieve them. But I feel like goals produce anxiety for me. I mean, other people are fully driven by goals, and it makes them work really hard and do the things that they want to do. But my lifestyle up to this point in time has made it so when I set a goal, I become anxious. And even if I'm taking steps to achieve that goal, I always just feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm no longer living for the now. I'm just living for this thing down there. And so that's a psychology shift I have to have. But dreams-wise, do you want to say yours? Do you want?
Well, I just like, I guess I dream that we can just keep doing what we're doing, but reach more people, and just make more of an impact on the world. It doesn't even necessarily need to be in the fitness realm. Like, I feel like because we're so lucky with our positions and situations that we should be like doing more with that. I don't know what that means. Like, you know, whether that's going to the local soup kitchen and helping out, I don't know. But I feel like in the future that I would like to be making more of an impact on first our local community, wherever we are based, and then the broader community. We're starting a new little, did Pat tell you about the partner workout thing? So we're starting something. We don't need to go into it, but like our first little step is like to try and put some of that money that we're earning towards charity. And it's going to be like a minuscule amount and not make like a dent in anything. But because we're constantly traveling and moving around and stuff, it's really hard to be on the ground, kind of helping other people. But we have these ideas of starting like schools where we just, it's like a free school, but we have like 20 kids coming, and it's not like a traditional school. One day maybe like we take them out surfing, and then this, it's cooking, and it's just like a hands-on, kind of everything we want for our kids. But
like a life skills.
Yeah, we want our kids to have other adult mentors in their life, and but we don't necessarily want to send them to a traditional school. But we have friends that we would love for our kids to spend more time with, because we trust them as human beings and adults being present in our kids' lives. But a lot of people work, so it's not as realistic for other people to do what we're doing. So we have this kind of like dream that we could like start something really cool with other kids and our kids. But I'm sure by the time we like actually do that, our kids will probably be teenagers. But
it's fine. As you guys go through life, I'm sure you're just going to figure it out.
Totally.
Yeah, the way it's gone now, you just keep figuring things out day by day.
Yeah, and I would say my dreams are similar. I like looking to make an impact beyond what we're doing currently. I want to talk to more people. I want to learn more stuff. Like, I think having conversations like this and like being on bigger and bigger forums, you can start to reach more people. And I believe that the message that we offer is a positive one, in the sense that like you can take ownership over what you're doing, and you can be happier, and you can be better, and you can raise a better family. And a lot of this having a better world for the future, for me, comes with our kids. Like, we're gonna die. And if you have a whole generation of kids who are more open-minded, more accepting, they've more emotionally connected to the rest of the people around them, like, I feel like that's going to be a truly different generation. And so I'm really excited to talk to more parents, and not because we've figured it out, but because I want more information. I want, what are you doing? What's going on? Because that's the point of this whole thing. Like, none of us know what we're doing. None of us have figured it out. Like, that's the premise of our podcast, is we don't know what we're doing as parents. We're just trying stuff and seeing what works, and then talking to other parents and seeing what they're doing, and be like, oh, that sounds cool. Let's take it home and see what and try that.
Definitely taken a lot on board from
the
other parents we've interviewed.
So much.
Yeah.
Sure. I also would love to buy a second property, as far as but in like a location like South Africa, and live in South Africa sometimes, and live in the States sometimes, or Hawaii, and be able to travel back and forth between things. I want a farm. I would love a farm.
Yeah, we'd love to have a farm, but we also like to be near the ocean, so it's like this.
We're an ocean farm.
We want an ocean farm.
You can build one, yeah?
I know you can build one here. I was staying in Plet for a while.
No, we want like animals.
We want animals. I want to milk cows. I want to gather my eggs. I want to work my butt off in a farm.
Yeah. When I moved from New Zealand to America, we kind of had this like little chat about. I was like, so we need to go back to New Zealand at least once a year. I do at least. Like, that was kind of like the stipulation, and I've for sure done that. But then it kind of got to the point. I was like, well, I want to have the ability, just if I want to, be able to go back for a longer period of time, not just to visit. And so that was, that's always been at the back of my head. Like, when we've started like online things, kind of like, well, this is kind of cool. If we end up just on our computers, what's stopping us from like going to New Zealand for 3 months and then being somewhere else? The answer is our dogs. We actually have 2 dogs, so they, like, luckily we got someone to look after them for this trip. But looking towards the future, that is one thing that makes it really hard for us to travel, because we can't just kind of up and leave these guys like every 2 months or so. But yeah, so that was kind of always my dream, was just to be able to, I think, just have the freedom to do what we wanted. And that might change, and we might not have the freedom, so that's kind of what we're trying to take advantage of it while we can, Or, maybe Oaks does want to go to traditional school, and then we're stuck in Santa Cruz because he wants to go to school every day. So, yeah.
Or you could just learn to farm.
Exactly.
We, Taz slightly mentioned it there. I think she kind of went through it. We're launching another little program called Yoked Fit, yoked.fit, but it's Yoked is the name of the program. But yoked is like slang for getting jacked or swole. but it's also kind of double meaning. It also means to be binded by a yoke. So a yoke is the thing that like animals pull through a field and till stuff. And it's a device that allows two things to do work together. And the idea is it's a partner training program. So like you commit to another person other than just committing to a program, because we find a lot of people, that's the beauty of a CrossFit facility, is you commit to the other people around you, and so you keep coming back in. Whereas when you sign up for like an online program and you do it by yourself, you're like the wanker in the corner doing it by yourself. And if you're really driven to do it by yourself, you do it by yourself and you get it done. But those people generally don't need the help. Whereas if you commit to another person, like you both sign up together and you have to do these workouts together as partners, or you can kind of like make sure your scores are bounced off each other, we feel like there'll be a little bit more longevity to it. Plus, we also started to kind of for couples. We have kids.
Just like for us, people like us, because especially on the road, we end up doing partner-style workouts. Like even though we're at a CrossFit gym today, we had the kids, so we did a partner workout so we could go back and forth. If one kid fell off a box, one of us is waiting. And they can
waiting
go,
just to catch.
waiting to catch, and then the next person goes. So we're just like tagging in and out, and we know for sure that there's many other parents out there who don't work out because it's just the entry to like the barrier to entry is just too large for them to even think about it. Well, I can't because I've got the kids, and so.
But I guess what's really cool about that is that you can actually stretch it across different avenues. I mean,
Exactly.
I don't have kids,
Right, but you could
I'm
find a buddy.
absolutely useless at training by myself.
Exactly.
That was kind of the
can't do it.
purpose.
So, and that's why this sort of training regime is so much better for me.
Yeah, because you're doing it with people.
Yeah.
So we're launching that. It's called Yoked.
I don't think anyone else is doing that.
No one is.
No
Which
one.
is why we're doing it.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's
So you have taken books out of Greg Glassman's thing. You have your own stuff and just launch it.
So
no one was doing
like,
lesson plans either.
Pat will have
And
like
nowadays it's
20
hard to
ideas
think
a day.
about that.
He literally comes up with like 20 things in a day, and some of them I take seriously. Most of them are just like, great idea, honey. Like, let's table that one for now.
You should just write them all down.
He started to. He has like a book.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas.
One day he's going to launch that book.
Of ideas.
Well, that was an
Somebody
idea.
create this.
My book of ideas.
No, he had an idea of selling his ideas.
Yes.
He-
My book of ideas. And just let it to the world.
Yeah, because you just, like a lot of them, you just need money. Like, I mean, a lot of his ideas, 6 months to a year later, people have apps or something. It comes out, literally, they've all come out. Like, someone's made them. Most of them.
A lot of them come out.
Yeah, and
The
if you-
stupid ones, not so much. The ones that we take seriously.
I don't know. My water bottle foam roller came out.
Stupid idea, yes.
I don't think that's stupid at all. I mean, you need a foam roller and you need a water
Have you
bottle.
seen the water bottle foam roller?
No, but
it
I'm
came out
gonna
in
go
the
look at
States.
it.
Yeah, it's a hard water bottle with a foam roller wrapped around it, so you travel with your water bottle foam roller. And I thought about that,
But like, it's
and
one
all
of
of a
those
sudden that
ones-
product was on the market 3 years later,
It's
and I
one
was
of those
like,
ones you put on like what's your like equivalent of like a commercial, like those commercial
Infomercial.
programs, infomercials. You know that
Very
you sell it on there, like the Air Buster or the.
I think that's great.
I mean, yeah.
And
but
then
those
on the other side, they should have split it in half, and on the other side, they should leave an empty container so you can put your keys and stuff in the one side.
totally.
Oh, wow.
See? There you go. You just made the South African version of it. And then you just sell it, South Day water bottle.
Those guys on the show are going to listen to this podcast and be like, boom.
someone is
boom,
going to
just
make it
made
here
that.
for sure. All the entrepreneurs in South Africa.
But yeah, so we're launching that, and it's also going to have a mindfulness component to it. So like once a week, there'll be like a mindfulness drill where you can kind of be a little bit more self-reflective, because I think any human can benefit from that, period.
Yeah.
Whether you're a coach or a parent or just a person, and you don't have to do that piece, but we figured it'd be a cool thing to add in there.
Yeah.
And when she was talking about taking profit from it and putting it towards a charity, that's what she was mentioning. She didn't say what the program
No,
was
I
that it
didn't.
was. So
Yeah.
we're going to do 5% of the profits from it go towards charity. And each
Like a
month
family
is-
type charity. We haven't
Yeah.
really discussed what, but.
So that's one of the things that we're looking forward to doing, is launching that and being able to put money towards it. And it's, we're just creating new and fun stuff, and we're in a very privileged position to be able to do so, where we've got an amazing program and we love what we're doing with that. But
And I think also like travel, like both of us are not driven by money. So like our like value set at the core is not, we're not driven to make lots of money. So we're very happy to like, we make enough money to be able to do what we want and put some away, but we're not by any means, trying to think of the next huge thing to like make tons of money.
I genuinely believe if I worked 25% harder than I currently do, we would double our income.
for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
would you want to do that?
No.
We wouldn't, and that's the choice we've made. Like we could be sitting and doing 6 hours of work a day. Like there's plenty of stuff that we could be doing to improve our business, or make the business run faster, quicker, all those things. But we've sort of just decided that our
Quality of life.
a quality of our life, and the kids are going to be 18 and off before we know it. And we're like we keep saying, we're in that like really lucky position to be able to spend time with them. So we're just choosing to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you need that quality of life, though.
Yeah.
Some people have a lot of time. Some people have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just find that balance.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so ending off, what any podcasts, books that you're reading? Anything interesting out there?
Well, I read like parenting books.
She tells me what parenting
Favorite
is.
parenting book?
I'm so bad at the names. So the one that I've just read recently was about adult attachment versus peer attachment. So what's happening in the society today, our children, rather than being attached to their parents and adults, which they're supposed to be until, they're 18 to 30, leave the house sort of thing, they're becoming attached to their peers because they're with their peers from, unfortunately, like a lot of the time, people have to put their kids in childcare, like from babies onwards. And so they're surrounded by kids their own ages. And so they make these attachments with these kids who provide nothing in terms of like growth, learning, security, anything that an adult or a parent does. And so these kids look to these peers for everything. And so parents are getting to the point, like good families like us, that when their kids get from 6 onwards, it seems like they have this like disrespect for their parents. They don't listen to their parents. They don't want to have anything to do with their parents. And it's not because of their parents are parenting them badly. It's purely because they're kind of cruel creatures. Like they don't need their parents anymore because they have these peers that they become attached to. And what's really interesting is that we saw that, not like I wouldn't say that Oakes was peer attached at all by any means, but he definitely loves his friends. And since we've been on this trip, he's become so much more attached to us, and we've seen it happen. And that trust and that respect it's innate. It's not, you don't build it into a kid. You have to respect me because I'm your parent. Like they naturally want to please you and do things for you because they're attached to you. And so it was just a really fascinating read. I can't remember the name.
We'll have a look.
Peer attachment, I think it was like keep control, like hold on to your kids, peer attachment versus parent attachment or something like that. That's what I just read recently.
Yeah, it doesn't mean like your kid shouldn't have friends.
And that's not what it's saying. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
saying that
and
you shouldn't go to school or your kids shouldn't have friends. It's just saying that you need to keep a handle on your kids and like know and be involved and
And you also need to interact with them.
Well, yeah.
Well, exactly.
Think about
You
think
need
about
to be a
as-
peer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it as kids. If they are not looking for growth from the parents, and all of a sudden they're looking to it just from the peers, think about how many bad mistakes you make from freaking 10 to 25. Like, and if that's
Right.
if that's what you're deeming to be normal and you're deeming to be acceptable, and you don't have these wiser people that you're looking up to, like what kind of person are you going to be? It's like it's a crapshoot. It's like it's up to the random influences that happen to you. Whereas if you can look deeper to the rocks in your life, like your parents and your older family.
Because
and
back
stuff.
in the day, like kids were only surrounded by parents and family. It was like the extended family, the cousins, the aunties, the uncles. Whereas now it's like we're all living in different countries because we're so much more mobile, or we're living in different towns, and so they have less of that close family adult time, which is really important. And then one other one that I'm read. It's called Renegade Beauty by Nadine Artemis, and it's a fascinating read, especially if you're into like kind of hippy dippy natural like essential oil healing type stuff that I am. It's just all about how basically everything's killing us. So it's very extreme, but she does a lot of the way she talks about in the book is research based. So it's not just like don't use sunscreen, it's bad for you. Like don't use sunscreen because of this this study. So Renegade.
And then here's
Beauty.
the alternative, and then here's
And then
the,
here, like,
it's
make
rather-
this concoction out of, like, vitamin C and blah, blah, blah.
it's not written as emotionally as some of those like books.
Right.
A lot of those, I mean, any book you have to take with a grain of salt, but because it's being written from a certain perspective.
Yeah,
But
anyone's perspective writing it.
Right.
but I think this book is far less emotional than some of the other ones that are just like,
Yeah.
it just kills your chakras. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, all right, well, show me a chakra and we'll get through with this. I think for me, I've been listening. I'm like halfway through The Selfish Gene by, is it Richard Dawkins? It's just talking about how genetics are inherently selfish. That's what he's saying. His hypothesis is that genes and who we are as people have developed the way we are because our genetics and like our base code are inherently self-serving. So even when something's altruistic, it's altruistic for a selfish reason down the line, and we've evolved that way. And so he provides a lot of data to back that up, and it's a pretty fascinating little book. And then I just like one of my favorites of all time that I suggest to a lot of people is The Power of Habit. It's just a good book for figuring out why you make some of the decisions that you do.
I just read that the other day.
It's great, isn't it?
Great.
You're like,
Great.
wow, that's what a craving is, you know, and that's why I act irrationally angry when I don't get what I want.
And when you read it, you just, while you're busy reading it, everything just starts to make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no wonder I do that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why that happens.
But I think what it was more for me was like a powerful agent of change, because I can now look to see, okay, I've just done this, and I always do this. What can I now do as a separate? How can I change my response to this? And I have to change my routine. I have to, like, once that cue happens, I have to identify the cue, and I have to, as soon as that cue happens, have it set off a mental note to go, okay, do something different than that cue wants me to do. And it's like such a cool.
I mean, it's similar to like what we're saying about the parenting thing.
Yeah,
like
that
in
pause.
that moment, like the pause and like, how is this going to affect, you know, the
My
next?
future.
Yeah.
Right.
My next decision.
Yep.
Take that step. Yeah, those two.
Great.
Oh,
guys.
podcast-wise, right now we like Rewild Yourself. It's a cool podcast, kind of hippy-dippy, but it's cool. And I'm always a fan of Revisionist History with Malcolm Gladwell.
That's awesome.
Nice. Lekker.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Leka. Now. Just now?
Lekker, just now.
When are you going to the airport? Just
Now.
Just now. Actually, now.
Oh, now, like
Now.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour.
30 minutes. Thanks, guys.
so much.
Cool, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.